Alhamdulillah, all good in yourself?
Alhamdulillah, shukr, doing well.
Alhamdulillah. All right. So the last time you were speaking about speaking to children of different ages, talking to them about the pandemic and how to handle it and how they can get through with it.
Yes, I was Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. We've spoken a lot about that. We spoke a lot about the children and our parents and how many of us have to get through things at this time. And alhamdulillah, our message has gone through lots of people, even globally. And we in South Africa are really going through a crisis right now on many different levels. And I think nearly every single person either knows someone who's positive at the moment, or they know of someone who's passed on from this virus, or know somebody personally. So this virus has somehow touched every single person out there at the time, and we just we make dua that Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala protects us all, inshallah, and cures everyone who's sick at this time. So yes, we've definitely touched on many aspects, but today there's a specific word, Shamali, that I want to focus on. And this word is linked directly to so much of what's been said already. It focuses a lot on how we can actually really empower ourselves even further. It's a crucial element of empowerment, and how to strengthen yourself from inside of you. And that word is perception. So
Mm-hmm.
if you remember, I think as of day one of lockdown and through many, many segments, I think even our listeners know this, I have one specific saying that I can't control the virus, but I can control me and my reaction to it. So I think everybody even knows that by now. But I want to look at just that a little bit more and in depth, because how do you learn to control your reaction to this virus, for example, or your reaction to anything? Your reactions depend on what provokes that specific reaction in you. And what provokes that reaction in you is obviously what is outside of you. So it's something that could have been said or something that's being done, and that is provoking a specific emotion or feeling or whatever it is that's happening inside of you. And that's obviously going to create your reaction. And that's when that control mechanism comes in. So if we ask our listeners to take a 2 second now and think about it, what exactly is your reaction at the moment to the virus? How are you perceiving this virus at the moment? How are you perceiving things around you at this moment? So when something is happening with you, it's not necessarily about the virus, take anything else for that matter. What is your perception of what was said? What is your perception of what was being done to you? That is what is the contributing factor to how you react to specific things. So this word of perception is very key to how you actually can empower yourself and how you can control your reactions, your thoughts, your emotions, and your feelings. That perception is actually what you need to control, because you need to know how you're perceiving things and why you perceive it in specific ways. So to go back to then what I said about the virus, I can't control the virus, for example, but I can control me and how I react. So then we ask our listeners, ask yourselves, how do you perceive the virus right this minute? Is it a nuisance to you? Is it what brings out too much of fear inside you? Is it a problem for you? And what is your reaction to it? And I certainly hope nobody's going to be saying it doesn't have any reaction, because I think everyone's got some form of reaction to this virus. But if we have to sit, really ask yourself, how do you perceive this virus at this moment in time? So here I want to talk quickly about a video which a very good friend of mine, Tasneem, shared a few days ago. And I thought this video was really amazing because it's very closely linked to perception. So I'll tell you the quick story. There's a word of, the virus is obviously, we know, it's coronavirus. So this video was about that specifically. But I'm going to delve into a specific point of it with the story. Now, this word of corona is everywhere. And just when we know it's on the radio, it's on the TV. Kids are even making jokes out of the word corona. It's everywhere. You go to a mall, it's in your house, just your eating table. Everyone's just talking about it. So day in and day out, what we're doing is we're hearing the word and we're feeding it to ourselves. And whatever emotion that we're getting from this virus and the perception of it, every time you're talking about it day in and day out, or you're listening to about it, you're feeding this even more into yourself. So when you hear corona and you're somebody who's fearful of it, you're actually enhancing the fear at a different level, and it keeps growing throughout the day. You get more anxious, you get more scared. And you start to perceive corona as this really huge monster who's like attacking everybody and everything out there. And it's creating this like a sense of cloud or darkness around you, and everything is just dark nowadays and you don't know what's what. But this, I learned something which was really amazing. It teaches us that corona as a word actually means light. Corona means crown. The actual definition of corona is crown. And corona refers to an outer layer geographically of the sun, which is something that we don't, I never knew that, but I know now. So the reason why the virus is called corona is because if you look at a picture of the virus, it kind of mimics a crown image. It has the crown around the entire virus. So we know that the sun now has its outer layer, which is called the corona. And we can't see the corona with the naked eye. The only time anyone will be able to see the corona of the sun is during an eclipse. So this is where the amazing part is we're viewing the virus, which is the coronavirus, as this huge monster which creates this immense fear that we have inside of us because we perceive it as that, and we continuously feed ourselves that all the time. Now, if you see it as this monster out there and you perceive it as that, then your inner being starts to also view it as that, and nothing will change that. That fear just keeps growing, etc. But if you actually think about it in a different way, this corona of the sun is viewed at the moment of eclipse, when everything else is dark, is when that corona shines through the most. And if you try and perceive that in that specific way now, and you put that into the analogy of your life at the moment and how you're viewing this virus around you, it might be a dark time right now, but it's through this dark time that you're going to be able to identify certain things that you might change in your life that will create a light for you and better things for you ahead. So again, it shows so much of perception, and it makes us learn. Now, 2020 for each of us has been really one of those years I think nobody will ever forget. But it's been a year of lessons, Sister Mariam. So far already, I think the whole experience of 2020 has taught us the norm that we were ever used to is never going to be again. What you might have thought was very important to you before is now not important at all. And the new sense of norm and the new sense of importance in life is about togetherness, it's about love, it's about family, it's about kindness, the things that we really took for granted before. And all that now is for us what is a crown. So corona being the crown has actually given us the essential meaning of what is the crown for you? What wears a crown for you? And we now know that the crown for us is just family and togetherness. What some people wouldn't give to just be able to see family again and to hug somebody again. So the sun is best now, yes. But how often have we ever had a day when we really wished we'd have a little bit of sunlight? So when you're viewing things about this corona and you think of the word again, really think about this corona as the outer layer of the sun you can't see, but that is there, giving you the warmth. So just as this corona is a monster, there's a lighter side to it. And if you start to perceive it to be something that can give you a little bit of lesson and a little bit of life lesson and how you can cope with things better, you will view it in a different way and you perceive things in a different way. So we need to view the virus as what we would like it to be beneficial for us. It's there, and like I always say, and I say it again, we can't control it, we can control ourselves. But how I'm perceiving it will also mean how I react to it. And I don't want to react to it in a way that hurts me or hurts the people around me. I need to react to it in a way that's beneficial for us. And we all know that there's measures we can take right now, there's control mechanisms we can take to make sure we're all safer, etc. So that's part of the way that we can deal with it. But the corona itself, as a word, remember, is a crown. How you're wearing this and how you're dealing with this is important. This crown of light, for me, really changed a lot when I saw the clip that was sent to us, because it changed the perception of it. You know, you can easily think of things in a very, very difficult way until you learn that there's a different way that you can perceive the same thing. Now, one of the things I can say is, look, it doesn't change the difficulties you're experiencing. It doesn't take away the worry that's happening. It doesn't take away the fear. But remember, how we perceive situations, how we perceive what's being done or what's being said or what somebody else's decision was and how it's impacting us, how we're perceiving that is ultimately what will control our reaction to it. And it's that reaction that we need to take control of. So this word of perception is so important for how we're dealing with stuff at the moment. If you think about anything that's happened with you, even during the course of today already, think about it. If somebody said something or somebody did something, or worse, if they didn't say something, how are you perceiving that? Are you sitting and contemplating whether they should have, shouldn't have, I would have preferred it that way, and is that what's making you upset or down? Are you perceiving things in the correct way, or are you perceiving things in a way that's hurting you? So remember, psychologically, systematic perception is vast. It really has huge segments to it. For example, there's 3 steps to perception. There's different types of perception. There's visual perception, there's hearing, taste, there's even social perception. So there's even a disorders of perception, mind you. So inshallah, at some point, I'd like to go over that maybe next week so we can find and help our listeners to identify which perceptions they can work with and which don't work well for them. But for now, we need each of our listeners to really resonate and understand that perception helps you to create your experience. And that is what is key for today's segment. Your perception of things will allow you to act in a certain way with people and in your environment, and that is what you can control. And rather work with what you can control than what you can't control. You can't control what somebody thinks of you. You can't control what somebody else is going to say about you. You can't control what they're going to feel about you. You can control only what you are doing and what you are feeling and what you are reacting to. So control what is you controllable for you, because anything out of that is going to be stressful for you because you can't take control of that.
Sister Mehreen?
Hello, Sister Mariam, can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you. I'm just not sure what happened
Sorry,
there, but
yeah, I'm not sure. I think we broke up for a second. So just remember that perception is key. And the other thing that's very important about perception is if you become more aware, you'd learn that perception actually will teach you to respect other people's perception. Because remember, every single person has their own different ways of perceiving things. Your perception of a beautiful basket of flowers and my perception of the same basket of flowers would be very different. So your reaction to it and my reaction might be different. And perception will teach you to respect that difference in each person around you. So that's the other very key reason why perception is really important. But inshallah, we will definitely tackle more on perception next week. I do want to go into the types of perception, and I'd like to delve into what disordered perception can actually create. So we'll definitely go into that. But I just want to leave with a specific saying, which I always like. But lots of people don't like it because they think the words are just it's bad. But I don't think it's bad. I think it's a reality check because it's simple words, but it hits the home. It hits the perception button. And the words go like, we're all in a gutter, but some of us are looking up at the stars. I'll say it again. We're all in a gutter, but some of us are looking up at the stars. So if you take cognizance of those words, you can be in the lowest of spaces, but it's how you're perceiving where you're at and what you're looking at from there that will determine your reaction to where you're at. So even if you are really in this gutter form, if you're looking up at stars, you're still admiring something beautiful. But if you're sitting in this gutter form and you're looking around you and welling in self-pity about where you're sitting at, etc., then that's going to be the space you're in because you're perceiving it that way. So how are you going to react to it is important. So that's why perception is really, really key to how you would grow yourselves and empower yourselves from inside of you, inshallah.
Inshallah. Well, I hope that people will look at things differently now that they have a little bit better understanding, especially when it comes to this coronavirus pandemic that we are all facing. And like you said, we need to look at the brighter, the better picture, the bigger picture. The coronavirus has taught us a lot of things, but it depends on how we view it. What have you learned from being? I know that it has taught me, well, besides social distancing, I like my distance, but then people don't like to social distance from me. But at least now they're doing it because they have to. But
Yes,
also, the washing of the hands and sanitizing. People never used to do that, but now it's like a must.
yes,
You have to do it, you like it or not. And it comes down to cleanliness. And we learned that cleanliness is next to godliness. So if you
yes.
are a person who does not want to be clean, then how close are you to God? Cleanliness is next to
Mm-hmm.
godliness. So if we keep that in mind, we will maybe learn to appreciate the fact that we're washing our hands more often, we sanitize, we make sure that what we eat, what we use as well is probably clean and washed as well. Our surfaces are clean. Now we're making sure that everything is clean and neat and tidy because we don't want to get the virus. And
Absolutely.
even if we do have it, we don't want to spread it.
Absolutely. The biggest lesson I think so far is that everything that we was small that we never really bothered about before is now become
Mhm.
the huge stuff for us. Something like just washing your
Yeah.
hands was something so minute back then, but right now it's the life changing. The other day,
Mm.
I was somewhere and I left, but I made sure I had the mask on and the glove on, and I walked out and realized, oops, wait, I forgot the key. So my essential was more the mask as opposed to the key,
Yeah.
and it just makes you put things into perspective a little bit more. You just seem to value the smaller things and the finer things in life more now. They have more worth to you than what was taken for granted before. Let's just say. So these small things
Mm.
which we ignored before, I think this virus is throwing back at us and saying, hello, you need to just appreciate life and appreciate the smaller things first about life. And once you learn this lesson, it'll disappear. Let's just hope it disappears soon, though.
Mm. Yeah, probably that's the lesson that we're all supposed to learn before the virus just decides to disappear and leave us. That it all comes down to the small things. Learn to appreciate your family. Because we have more times with our families now, even though
Yeah.
some of them may be far away. But now because we are in this pandemic, we can't really go and visit them, but we make time to call them. Before that, we
Yeah.
hardly used to call them because we're like, no, I'll go this weekend to visit them, and then something else comes up, and we don't end up going to visit
Mm-hmm.
them. So now we have more time with our families and friends. We're able to appreciate the environment, just going outside and getting some sunlight because that's necessary for us. Um, we were all about chasing money, chasing the dreams, going to work, hustle and bustle, and now it's just relax, just take a deep breath, relax, uh, uh, be comfortable where you are right now, wash your hands, learn a new skill, learn to make something, cook food differently, cook from home because processed is not a good idea. And
Yes.
once we learn on to appreciate all of these things, we're going to really appreciate, maybe we're not really going to appreciate having the virus around us, but we might look at things a little bit better.
Yeah, this virus is this 2020 year is going to be history in the making, and I just say we should just redefine our own history for this year, so that later on when we look back, we actually look at it and say, as much as it was bad, this is what I did and came out of it with some positives too. So, inshallah, we can just make the world, we're all guided to make sure that does happen soon.
I mean, shukran for joining me, and we look forward to next week, inshallah. Assalamu alaikum.
Wa alaikum salam wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh.
That was Sister Mehreen Mia Cassimjee on today's Empowered segment talking about perception. And inshallah, next week we will continue on the topic of perception. As she mentioned, that there are different ways that people perceive things and there are different types of perception. And she will be delving into that topic a little bit more next week, inshallah. So do make sure that you join us from 12 to 12:30 on the Mariam Mukonda show every Wednesdays. If you have any suggestions or questions for Sister Mehreen, you may leave them in the comment section or you can send them to our WhatsApp line. The number is 061 766 0355. Okay, do stay with us. We will be right back after the break.
This is Salam Media, and you are tuned into the Miriam Makunda Show.
The Syrian crisis is into its 10th year, with sustained fighting, hunger, economic devastation, and the threat of disease stalking a conflict-weary population.